We will now unveil the book Beyond Chess by Mr. Naveen Bansal. To unveil the book, I would like to request Mr. Manu Singh, Mr. Arun Masi, Mr. Hardeep Singh Chanpuri, Mr. Vivek Atre, and Mr. Naveen Bansal to come on stage and unveil the book. Can we have all the gentlemen on stage, please?
Now I would like to request Mr. Naveen Bansal to kindly come and tell us about this book. Mr. Naveen Bansal.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Actually, as many of you think that this book would be like any other book like chess, which will teach you about chess and different strategies of the game. But basically, this book is a different book. It basically focuses on the developing of the right psychology of a child and positive mindset of a child. It is actually about an overall development. It's not only focused on technical boundaries of the game, like we are only playing chess on the board, we are learning different techniques on the chessboard, but it is basically you need to go beyond that particular sport to master the game. What I mean is, like, you need good diet, you need daily exercise, you need brain exercise, then motivation. So all of things are required. And we need to cultivate these key traits in a young child as soon as we can. And I think it's then a continuous process. You have to make a lifestyle. So then only some big achievement can be done in any sport. Thanks a lot. Yeah, there are 2 chessboards available. Anyone who would like to play with me.
Thank you so much, sir, and best of luck for the launch of your book. I'm sure everyone will enjoy reading your book.
Yeah, sure, thank you. And we are going to launch it soon, most probably within a month or so. This is the cover we have just, it's a secret actually, because it's beyond chess. I think this kind of book has never been written in the chess world.
So looking forward to the book launch, sir.
Yeah, sure.
And now we also have another launch at this event where we will be unveiling and launching the official magazine of Playwrite 2023. May I request Mr. HARTEK Singh and Mr. Ashok Gupta and Mr. Charanjit Singh to come up on the stage and launch. Yes.
This is a booklet or magazine being brought out specially for the edition of Playwright, which contains details of this event as well as a tribute to Mr. Novi Kapadia, which was also unveiled in the morning. Shulin Designs, by the way, very similar to Shulini University is the name of the design house that has been launched by Shweta ji, who's going to come up. It's called Shulin Designs, and she is an international fashion designer. She has moved back to Chandigarh after several years of working abroad and outside Chandigarh, and she accepted my request to focus on fashion in sports, even though per se probably it's not her field in the past, but now she can easily jump into it, jump as in a sporting way, because she has a wonderful presentation coming up. And to help her to be part of this session and to add another flavor to the session and also to speak about her own fashion preferences, we have young golfer and golf coach TAVLEEN SINGH. So a big round of applause for Shweta ma'am and TAVLEEN. Over to you.
Are a few slides where you see in the 1960s, 70s, 80s and 2000s how sportswear evolved from basketball players, where they used to wear zip front hoodies and track pants. Adidas would come up with color blocks and visors. Again, you see color blocking here with different asymmetric detailing. Then matching shoes with the sports gear. Color blocking hoodies as well as jackets. Visors, shorts, cycling shorts and t-shirts. These are basketball players. Then Polo Ralph Lauren brought in a lot of revolution with multicolored fashion. Here you see some of Polo Ralph Lauren's fashion outfits for men as well as women. Sportswear with multicolored sports t-shirts like emerald green, mustard yellows, cerulean blues. Then polo players with a very classic silhouette. On polos with again asymmetric detailings and rugby varsity look. Both male and female players. Beret caps, mufflers, as well as some trends with kids wear. Powder blue sailing trends with nautical stripes as well as varsity patch detailing on sweaters and varsity ties. This is Armani Exchange, Emporio Armani, how they brought in activewear. Converse was one of the famous brands for fashion in the 80s and the 90s. We bring to you styles of some famous sportsmen like Sachin, both Indian as well as international sportsmen. Kindly have a look here. Roger Federer with golden and ivory white detailing on jackets, stripes on varsity jackets. Again, men's and women's trends together on polo t-shirts, sweaters, cardigans, pullovers. Serena Williams with a color. Activewear, taking inspiration from space. Imagery of water, aqua, space. These are some of the key colors that are going to be spelled out for the coming season. A lot of water-washed colors like shiboris and tie-dyes. Again, multiple colors in one silhouette, like yellows going into pinks, into greens, into blues. Pastel greens, a very military look here. Lilacs for athleisure and loungewear. Some active sportswear for skiing. Again, styling details for active athleisure wear. Biker short detailing. Beautiful fashion illustrations developed to showcase fashion trends. Sweatshirts, track pants, a little influence of Japanese fashion on sportswear. Soft pastels, sky blues, powder blue colors. Ivory whites. Varsity looking sportswear. Some key brands like Emporio Armani. Marble printing on t-shirts. Again, marble and psychedelic prints on t-shirts and hats. Varsity looking t-shirts and sweatshirts. Color blocking in blue, green and white. Again, color blocking trends in skirts, tights as well as hoodies and sports jackets. Beautiful layering of color blocking here. Some shoe trends. Color blocking on shoes. If you see here, it's a very dynamic shoe. Peaches, blues, yellows, aubergines. Cerulean blue as a key color for the season. Scarlet reds. Pastels in sandals. Sunrise yellow and ivory whites. Some polo trends, polo t-shirt trends. Very classic.
Hello. Yes. So thank you, Shweta, for this wonderful presentation. And we're all glad to see, especially your take on the trending designs that will be coming in for this season and for upcoming season as well. Shweta, my question to you would be, so you told me about your experience with working with renowned brands like Calvin Klein, Armani. So, and you also mentioned you have designed sportswear yourself. So I would just like to ask you that how did you balance functionality and style and design per se in your clothing? Because we know, of course, more than making clothes trendy, chic, we can't let go of the factor that sportswear needs to be very functional for the athlete. So I would just like to know your take on that.
Thank you so much for the question. So basically, besides the aesthetics, which comes through colors, patterns, prints, and graphics that a designer designs, there's also technology that goes into textile development. So when we say technology, if there is a natural yarn like cotton or linen or hemp, we blend it with nylons and polyamides to give it flexibility and stretchability in the fabric, which then helps the sportsman to perform better because there is stretchability in the textile and there is sweat absorbency, there is also odor absorbency, there is UV resistance to the textiles. So all these factors help a sportsman when he wears a t-shirt or a sweatshirt or a sweatpants to perform better at his sports, and it's effortless sportswear then.
Thank you very much. That was indeed very insightful.
Thank you. So TAVLEEN is a golf player and also a coach to many students now. So my question to TAVLEEN is that how does she find joy in her game, and also what does she do to coach her students better?
So finding the joy in this game is very easy for me, simply because I'm getting to do what I love. I had been passionate about golf since a very young age. I've played myself, represented the country in many events. And so just turning that passion into something which I do now, which is coaching. So yes, it brings me immense satisfaction and pleasure. So I always tell this to people that as a player, the kind of satisfaction, that pleasure you get when you hit a good shot in golf, and I'm sure that applies to other sports as well. It's immeasurable, right? But the same thing as a coach, when you bring that satisfaction and when you make the other person hit a good shot and see that smile on their face, I think that's unmatchable as in itself.
Great, very well said.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
for that wonderful session. Very crisp, very bright, very colorful, and very telling, and a great insight into the world of fashion and sports. We have our next session now, so let's get the chairs ready on the stage, please. Team needs to get the chairs. Sports persons are not able to play in their careers because they did not get support. I, for a fact, know a friend of mine who's been trying to propel his young son in various sports but cannot find sponsorship in one particular sport, of course. So that particular dilemma, can industry step in, and can industry really take forward this campaign to make India a sporting powerhouse? In the morning we were talking about the sports culture during the hockey session, and Ashok Kumar ji, Sodhi Saab and Rajpal ji had highlighted the fact that India is not really a sports culture friendly country as of now. So we need to prioritize sports much more. We need to bring in industry much more into sports, and we need to highlight the fact that many sports persons are leaving because they could not find a career in sports even though they were outstanding. So we're going to invite on stage Mr. G. Rajaraman, whose name I've saved as Mr. Raj Ganeshan, which I think hopefully both are correct. He is a veteran sports scribe. He is on various sports panels. He has come specially from Delhi today to be with us. And please take your seat, Raji. And he is a multifaceted sports journalist. I believe he was traveling to the US to cover the Winter Olympics. The World Athletic Championship, of course. And he's on our group, so I was seeing all his posts. Please take your seat. We have from the world of sports our youngster who was in the previous session, the golfer and golf coach. We have TAVLEEN Singh. Please join us. And she's going to be talking about the sports person's perspective in why and how industry can help sports. And we have two industry experts, of whom one I cannot see right now. So if he's here, Ashish I can see. The other one I can't see, so I guess he's going to step in soon. ASHISH KHOSLA, a co-founder of Shulini University, who has headed various organizations and companies across the world. And as you can see, very athletic, and he's only the second person today apart from me to come from here, by the way, without the steps. Though there was one more, I'm forgetting who that was. You, Upinder ma'am, I'm so sorry. How can I forget you? She too jumped from there, so now we know who the real athletes are. And Ashish is an educationist now. Shulini University is one of the partners of the event, and just happens to have a name which is very similar to Shulin Designs. You better have some synergy there as well. Shulini University is named after the goddess of Solan, which is Shulini Devi. We also have Ashok Khosla from Shulini University here, and it's great to have Ashish, who has experience of industry as well as academia and across the world and in India, to give that perspective. So Raji, over to you, and please start the conversation, and we may have our next panelist joining in any minute. Over to you.
Should I not be inviting Mr. HARTEK Singh first?
You can. You can do that first, yes.
Can you please
So why don't you invite Mr. HARTEK Singh to give the keynote first?
We'll start off by saying thank you to our primary sponsor.
All right.
So all of us are here thanks to HARTEK Singh.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for doing what
So let me also say a word about him, since he is speaking first. So he'll be delivering a keynote on the subject. HARTEK ji is probably one of the most refreshing personalities, because he's so enthused about sports from the industry. We thought he's a perfect fit for this, and his keynote speech will obviously give us the impetus for the session. But we're still missing one panelist. Hopefully he's also coming. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Well, before I start my keynote, I need to give you a little personal introduction about myself. I'm one of the proud sports failure in my life. I couldn't make it. And standing in front of you all, some of the achievers, big time achievers, As a kid, we used to hear that, I'm sure most of you must have been doing that commentary of Ashok ji running around, ye goal ho gaya. You know, that's how we grew up. But it made a very big impact on my life. Every second Indian here or across the country either wished to become one of a great cricketer or a hero, following some actor, idolizing any one of them. I followed the sports. And I remember as a teenage, I had 2 posters in my room. One was of Muhammad Ali, and the second was of Bruce Lee. I never knew, I had no vision of my life, but I just loved them. And we didn't have those kind of media and those kind of, you know, today you just click a button and you can see anything what you want. But no, at that time, very off late the VCRs came, so we used to run to, and I used to look at all the Bruce Lee movies. Muhammad Ali was a very big impact of my life. And as I grew up, I suddenly wanted, you know, to become a cricketer. And the dream was very clear. Indian team में खेलना है भाई. बड़ा छोटा सा सपना था. But वो सपना इतना छोटा, इतना simple नहीं था. I was a left-arm spinner, so the only thing which I could always dream was बिशन सिंह बेदी के बाद तो मेरा ही नाम आने वाला है. ऐसा होता नहीं है, because बहुत dedication, बहुत hard work, आपके पास वो skill भी होनी चाहिए. नहीं था वो. Ultimately, naturally, कुछ parents का भी pressure था कि बेटा क्रिकेट खेलकर क्या करेगा लाइफ में, कुछ तो बन जा. But the end of the day, story stands here. Came to the city as a struggler in '87, started off my own. Yes, I stand here now as an entrepreneur in front of you. But what was that impact of those 2 posters to me, those 2 sportsmen? Apart from that, the moment I entered and that interview which was going, that inspired me. 8 साल का बच्चे के अंदर कितनी क्लैरिटी है, हमारे अंदर नहीं थी वो चीज़. बट वो जो 2 पोस्टर्स ने मेरे ज़िंदगी में क्या चेंज लेकर आया. One, when I look at Muhammad Ali, and as I started my life of my career as an entrepreneur, the only thing which I conceived within myself was the confidence. I am the best. कुछ भी कर रहा हूँ ना, मेरे से ऊपर कोई बंदा नहीं है. वो मुझे मोहम्मद अली से वो इनग्रेव हुआ मेरे अंदर कि मेरे से बेहतरीन कोई बंदा हो ही नहीं सकता. सेल्समैन था मैं. I was a salesman. Simple, plain word. I was selling products. And the belief in me of that poster, of that man, you know, just went inside. And in my process of a journey, it helped me. When I look at Bruce Lee, he taught me the focus and concentration. I learned, and as I grew up in my life on my journey of entrepreneur, it made a very, very serious impact. So, ladies and gentlemen, my young players of this hockey team of Chandigarh, that's how you people inspire us. किसी दिन मेरा कोई तीसरा जनरेशन आपकी फोटो देखकर शायद इंस्पायर होगा जिस पोस्टर लगा के. I want that. That's what I look upon. And well, now this is not my job. I'm not very good at. I'm generally I love always to be on the audience. My son Simarpreet is very good at you know, coming on the dais and speaking out. But yes, since he was busy in Mumbai and he made sure that I stand, कभी-कभी वो sponsorship का कुछ फायदा भी हो जाता है. So anyway, thank you very much. It's an honor and privilege for me to stand before you all, and as a HARTEK, representing HARTEK Group, and be a part of this incredible event, focusing, inspiring sports aspirations, what we are all talking about. Let me just give you a very brief introduction about HARTEK. Is HARTEK, we have a clear goal of achieving net zero emission of 2050 of our Honorable Prime Minister. We believe that sustainability is not just a buzzword, but a core value and must guide our actions and decisions in every aspect of our business. To this end, we have made significant investment in renewable energy, energy-efficient technologies, sustainable practices across all our operations. We are committed in reducing our carbon footprints, conserving natural resources, and protecting the environment for future generations. I'm not enjoying this. Let me just clear it off. I'm sorry. Maza nahi aa raha. I come straight to the power topic before I, go back on my audience. We are just going to start a collaboration of how can industry really play a role into the sports. I feel, yes, we have a responsibility because I now stand on side of the industry. I'm no more a sportsman, which I've already shared with you all. But as an industry, I think it will give me immense happiness, which I owe a lot thanks to Vivekji and my son Simarpreet of giving me the opportunity of standing in front of you and giving it back to that sportsman, a failed sportsman, HARTEK Singh, जिसने जिंदगी में नहीं कर पाया, but आज at least I can give back to my next generation and make sure that you succeed. As an industry, I think we owe a responsibility to make sure in the part of our CSR, how can we pick up children who have all the skills but maybe lacking somewhere the financial support. The industry has to stand out. I, from HARTEK behalf, stand committed to the sports academy to come forward. We as an industry will surely play a role as far as HARTEK is concerned. But I would like to go a little step forward before I go back to the audience where I love that seat of mine. I'm a member of CII. I'm a member of Mohali Industrial Association. And I would wish the sports academy, if this can be part of the discussion, create a platform where I don't mind going back to my associations of selecting some of the representation of the industry and a representation of sports academy, come together, have a meeting every month, work on a way and methods how can industry collaborate and work for the growth of this sports players and make India a proud nation in this field of sports. Thank you so much. God bless you all. I'm sorry for this, I couldn't take it.
A wonderful afternoon to you. Session after lunch is always difficult. Everyone goes to sleep. But thanks to Shweta, everyone is awake. Thanks to you, everyone is awake. Lovely to be here. A very serious subject, but you've given a great start to us. About what industry can do to sport and how it can take India forward. I'm going to take a minute because I don't know, I like asking questions, but I will take a minute trying to set the scene here. When I was growing up, and I'm a 60s boy, I read that the royalty was the kings and nobles were the reason why sport flourished in this country. The Maharaj of Patiala. I think everyone here will be aware of the role that the Maharajas played in the development of sport in this country. I don't think we can ever forget that. Not for 100 years, not for 200 years. We should never forget the role of the Maharaja of Patiala in Indian sport, not just in cricket, but also in Olympic sport. He was not the only one. Obviously, there were other nobles. I come from Hyderabad, where Moinuddin, the Nawab, was a patron of sport. But gradually, over a period of time, the nobles lost significance. The kings and nobles lost significance. We got independent. They lost their titles. And we had to fall back on the Tatas primarily. The 1924 Olympic Games team went only because the Tatas sponsored the team back then. So industry और खेल का जो संबंध है बहुत पुराना है, 100 साल से भी ज़्यादा पुराना है. Without industry, there is no sport in this country. I think there is a perception that industry is not supporting sport. I was at a conference last week in Calcutta where the president of the Athletics Federation of India came up with some fascinating numbers, Vivek. He said the top 25 corporates in the country, their profits are something like 19,000 lakh crores. And he said if 2% of that, which is CSR amount, is taken for sport, we will be a super nation. But that doesn't happen. He said, why don't you think in terms of putting 0.25% of the 19 lakh crores that we're talking, 19,000 lakh crores that we're talking about as profits. He said, he calculated this, I don't have the exact numbers, but he said that for the Olympic federations, the Olympic sports federations, this kind of amount, if it comes to them, they will each get 45 lakh crores, 45 crores every year. And that is good enough money for sport to survive. So we need to find a way in which to get the industry back into sport. Maybe depend less on government at this point of time. We are heavily dependent on government. My challenge with Ashish and you will be to try and find out how we can get industry back into sport. Let me start with you. Tell us your own experience of dealing with industry, of dealing with corporates, of being a young golfer. There was a really young golfer. I don't know what kind of sponsorship support she has, but tell us your own experience so we get an idea of where we stand at this moment.
Good afternoon, everyone. My answer to your question, so since I come from a sport like golf, which is the first thing that comes to the mind because that's how this sport is popular, is that, yeah, it's the game for the riches, right? So, but when it comes to players, professionals, and the ones who are competing, trying to make a living out of it, following their passion, I would still say we have a long way to go. And before adding something, I also want to make a point that we are already much better than where we were at 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or even for that matter 5 years ago. And to that, I think that credit goes, like simply if I tell you about the women's tour, the professional tour of India, about 10 years ago, there were, you would see a field of barely 20 people, tops, right? 20 girls competing in an event. And, ever since then that the discussions have been there because, of course, with such a low number of field, that prize money is less because they don't get the kind of visibility, and also naturally that kind of struggle was there. But since the number of girls have increased, the prize money is also increasing. Of course, we crib that it's still not enough, it's still not as much as the men get. But nonetheless, it is growing slowly but surely. And what I feel has helped our sport is, so, since golf recently has been included in the Olympics, and the kind of recognition, the visibility it got did tremendous help to the sport, right? And then ever since then, we've seen the growth in the number of players, in the number of people wanting to start golf. Why? Because now they can surely see what kind of, the opportunities available, and also the kind of rewards they can reap through this sport. So yes, I would say visibility is number one. And going forward, answering your question, I would like to add that
your own experience. Your own experience.
My own experience, yes.
We will come to where we are at the moment.
Yes.
You're pretty articulate about how your journey was, but you gave me a very important word, visibility. Yes. And I will go to Ashish with that word. Ashish has been a management professional. He's into innovation, and he's now obviously into education as well. Has straddled both worlds of the industry and now academia. I want to know from you, how is it that sports people, other than cricketers who are on television, as I was discussing with Ashok Bhai just a short while ago, cricket is a sport where after every over you can play 1 minute of advertisements. So it become a commercial sport. There is a reason why sponsors go to cricket. In golf, it's tough for me to break television and show a minute of commercials. In tennis is the only other sport where commercials can be shown between games, because players do take some rest when they play two games each. No other sport. Hockey lasts 60 minutes these days. And in a day of 90 overs, as we are seeing in test matches, you can play 1 minute commercial between overs. So you've got 90 minutes of commercials, whereas hockey lasts 60 minutes. How can we improve? How can India improve the visibility of some of our stars who have been clamoring for attention, who have been clamoring for industry to support them, Ashish? I want the innovation man here to come forth with some suggestion.
That's a very difficult question. Straight on, you're asking me a tough one. So I would say that, just my own experience in management, we've, just to share that very quickly, is 21 years ago, I was dealing with one of India's top golfers, and he said, "Yaar, sponsorship dila de," right? Chandigarh guy, right? So all I could help him with was a credit card. When you go abroad, at least you can spend, right? Fortunately, he did get sponsorships, doing pretty well, right? Also, we did sponsor some of India's top athletes, right? So that was just out of pure social reasons. Just had Mr. HARTEK Singhji said that he wants to do something, right? Of course, you raised the point on CSR, right? 2% of profit goes into CSR. How do you get sports people to be part of bodies which need to be not for profit, because CSR can go to a not for profit entity and not to an individual? So how do you, get somebody there who can present sports people to corporates as CSR? Your question on 60 minutes or 90 minutes or, I don't know what the score is today, all day long you're watching matches. I think it's 420, 30 for 5, right? But you do watch the match, but look at the Super Bowl in the US. That's there for what, 10 minutes, right? And every single 10-second ad costs around a couple of $10 million, right? So it's not about the length of the sport, but about the viewership. So as long as you can get viewership, and Star Sports has done a lot of work around, for example, Kabaddi. Kabaddi guys are getting viewership. So it's about creating an interesting format for sports. In my own experience, because I was working in the UAE, and we did try to bring a little bit of IPL-based sponsorships. That didn't work out, but we had a lot of UK-based clubs coming in and saying, hey, the owners used to send in their people saying, why don't we do a co-brand credit card? So actually in that market, and we ourselves did a Manchester City co-brand. So Manchester United, Manchester City, Arsenal, they've all come out with co-brand credit cards, and each of these were $1 million deals based on the spend of the customers, right? So I'm sure sports management people do think of new innovative ways, right? And India is what, 1.4 billion people, right? A lot of them aspiring to be sports people. All of them wanting to be inspired by their idols. And there's no reason why cricket should be the only game. I mean, so we've got golf coming in, we have definitely hockey, traditional games like Kabaddi, right? The whole idea is to get companies to commit to, pools of games and make it a whole flow there. Yeah, so, the other thing is, if you see IPL and the Kabaddi League, it's about giving corporates the idea, the ability to channel, their brands itself. So sponsorship is also a big one. So most of IPL for the Ambanis, I'm assuming, is just about one of them going on in front of the audience and waving, right? So that opportunity also, as one can come out and create more of these, one can see more flows into sports.
Thank you, Ashish. Trust an entrepreneur and an educationist to take a tough question and wave it away like that. Beautifully done. My pleasure to welcome JITIN TALWAR. Thank you for joining us. I don't know if it is the right thing to do, but you want to add to what Ashish just said about how we can improve visibility. He spoke about innovation. He spoke about how Kabaddi has found a new format and how television has made it big. Is that the way forward? We've seen a women's Premier League in cricket as well. We've seen league being introduced across sport. Is that the way forward? Is the traditional sport that the likes of Ashok Kumar here played, the national championships are a forgotten chapter primarily, except for the Hindu and Sports Star. Nobody covers the national championships, let alone television channels. Do you think then that leagues are the way forward, that innovation is the key to visibility for athletes?
So I come from a startup background, also AI background, also kind of a copyright, intellectual property background. And one of the things that's always been taught in these circles is you can run out of ideas. You cannot run out of ideas, but you can run out of money. So essentially, how do you get money into sport is what I would like to contribute to. See, one very important aspect is from technology and sports, right? We are talking about now sport tech meaning use of, like ball tracking, artificial intelligence, coming into various aspects of sport. Those could be very relevant inputs and use cases that both sporting personnel, both who are currently playing as well as who are retired, could come in and both endorse as well as work on, use, and the administrators could also work on. The second very important aspect relates to intellectual property there. what happens is when you've played a sport, for example, the other day I was having a informal discussion with a former cricketing great who was talking about this famous Kapil Dev catch. That famous Kapil Dev catch was in 1983. It's been played, replayed, played, replayed. However, the rights to those moments, it's completely not certain who they belong to. The monetization of these events is something that has been earned, that has earned millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars to sporting personnel and leagues in the US. For example, there were some very famous slam dunk moments in American basketball which were subject to NFTs. So that's the other area that one could look at. Then of course, from a corporate standpoint, and she talked about women, about 35 to 40% of the workforce in corporates is women. Unfortunately, it's not 50%. But again, getting women, folks, and getting corporates more involved in sporting events, sponsoring them, of course, and then also creating a very, very important functionality around the CSR that Ashish mentioned is also a very important aspect of how you could monetize a lot of aspects, celebrity cricket leagues where corporates could get involved, etc. So I think what's happening is great. We've got to keep these movements going on and encourage, corporate sport silos to be broken. I think it's only when these silos get broken that you're all work and no play is when things start happening, innovation starts creeping in, and people start making money.
Right. I promised to come to you, Mr. HARTEK Singh. I have to be an athlete, Vivek. Please sit, sir. You spoke about Bruce Lee and Muhammad Ali being two idols of yours. But the young generation that sits at the back is always idolizing the Messis and the Ronaldos of the world. Maybe a Virat Kohli at some point of time. How do we get them to idolize lesser athletes? You chose two people who are not so much on television. What is it that India can do to ensure that some of its own stars become visible so that industry is then interested? आपने तो एक बहुत अच्छी बात कही है, Vivek. This is for something for posterity. He's promised sponsorship for the academy. He did that from stage, so it's on record. But he's gone to grassroots, right? Which is amazing. Now everybody wants to tie up with a Virat Kohli. Everybody wants a Jim Milka Singh. Everybody wants a Leander Pace. What is it that Indian industry can do to ensure that there is greater support at the grassroots level?
I'll just stand up. See, it's very important, which I slipped out. When I talk of industry, it's a responsibility of industry to build up this sports commitment within themselves first. They have to believe in it. Now, if I talk about HARTEK, we do have various events of sports, apart from being a company which is more into the power and energy sector. Like IPL is there in this country, we have HPL, that is HARTEK Premier League. And we followed exactly the same principle of IPL. We have auctions, we have teams, we have the team owners, we have the selections, and we have in the online auction of players. होता वो रुपए में बोलते हैं dollar, just to have that excitement. What is the purpose behind it? That the employees in HARTEK have to have that sportsman feel of it. We have table tennis tournament within HARTEK. We have our own cricket team. We have our matches with the vibrance and various other. The whole idea is that sports is a very, very critical role for the growth of this country. We also would like to, I'm taking this liberty of taking this up, women sportsmen is also a very, very important. We need to have that equality. We just cannot every time talk about the men, taking it forward. Now coming back to your point, how do we inspire these, young, and how can industry play a role? I think if each of the industry within their own space, like if I belong to Chandigarh Tri-City, I should consider it only of this Tri-City and take care of this area's young sports players whom we can identify, and we can use various platforms and try to promote those events, their matches, tournaments, and mainly children who are not privileged, with those financial support. Industry needs to come up. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Tavleen, I want your perspective, and how can athletes ensure greater visibility? I know it's a tough ask, but since it is about visibility, and I will come to transparency and governance in just a bit. Maybe Ashish, you will be ready with that. About how governance is important, how transparency in governance, sports governance is important. But from a young athlete's perspective, as someone who's now coaching athletes as well, tell us a little bit about how athletes can increase their own visibility. Because every time you go to a sponsor, they say, "Hamare liye isme kya hai?" So how does an athlete like you answer that question?
So I think we are privileged to be living in a world like today, 2022, where it's all about digital era, right? And if one uses that in the right way, I think one can get a lot of traction and hence visibility. Now for that, talking from a young athlete's perspective, just maintaining their a good social media presence, making sure that you're reaching out to as many people as you can. And we also have this added bonus that through social media we can actually target our audience, right? So whoever it is that we want to reach out to, we want to inspire, we want the following of, we must reach out to. And provided, maintain a good profile there, showcase the hard work you're putting in, all, and display all the other good qualities that go into making them a good athlete, which of course then inspires the other people as well. And then, like you said, you asked Mr. HARTEK that question, then how can we inspire the younger generation of today to follow an Indian athlete, right? To make them their idols. So yes, definitely one of them is this, that, through social media, maybe they can be reached out to. And not just that, for that, of course, one has to go a step further where there are meetups that can be organized. And like, you were talking about, see from every state and in every sport, there are some sporting stars everywhere, right? Throughout pan-India. So then, one can take the responsibility of reaching out to and contributing to the sport in their state. And like I said, by conducting camps, it could be conducting meetups, it could be just, being part of certain academies where they make sure that that kind of interaction happens with the younger lot. So I think if that happens, it's going to help us a lot.
Super. Thank you so much, Tavleen. It gives us some perspective that young athletes are thinking of using their social media handles to reach out to sponsors and to reach out to larger audiences. I think it's brilliant. I think it is the way forward. Social media has made it easy for people. Even if newspapers and television channels don't cover their sport, they can still ensure good visibility for their sponsors. Thank you so much for that, Tavleen. Ashish, I come to you. One of the key questions that I am always asked is, why should we invest money in a national sports federation? Because they don't run it in a clean way. The governance questions come up here. Credibility comes up here. How can we address this? Because the government has got the National Sport Development Code. It does give recognition only to those who follow the code. Are they clean enough? Is that a good enough certificate? Should corporates start investing more in sport? Or should they focus on developing academies like Tata's got football, it's got archery, it's got a number of sports academies at the grassroots level in Jamshedpur. What do you think is the way forward? How can federations ensure that they present a cleaner image of themselves than they have at this point of time?
So another tough question for me, thank you, right? Before that, I have a point of view for Tavleen.
The easiest part of sport is playing it, I guess.
So Tavleen, 2 weeks back, I met a guy called Physics Wala. He's a billionaire many times over. All he did was teach kids physics on building community out of it. So sports people can build their own community, and there is a monetization at the end of it, which is way more than anybody else can give it to you. You'll be getting it on yourself. For example, you're teaching golf, just think about that. So it seems there's a big creator community economy, which is bigger than the other economy, which is based on pay, right? But coming back, while I was thinking of your question, since you gave me a hint, and it's a bit of an out of syllabus answer. So many years back, I was in a course at Coursera run by Yuval Noah Harari. And that's before he wrote his book Sapiens. There are 25 people on the course. So we got a discussion forum going, and one of the topics was sports. And thought was, why are people even looking up to sports people in the 21st century? What's going to happen in the 22nd century? And, this is his thoughts, and I'm layering them a bit. He's saying that, very important 2000 years ago to run between two cities in Greece in a marathon. No longer relevant, right? Very important 1000 years ago to be able to run faster than your enemy. Not relevant, right? Very important to throw a javelin or a ball faster than everybody else around. These are no longer relevant skills, right? And yet, this is exactly what sports people do. And, what is it that causes us to kind of follow sports people, put them on a pedestal? So the thought was that these people become idols, right? And that's something in part of our limbic or lizard brain, that we want to adore idols, right? And we want to be inspired by these idols, right? And fortunately or unfortunately, what they do in the sport, they also bring to their personal lives. So for sports people and for sports federations, it's the fact that they are monetizing on the idolization of the massive public, right? So therefore, it's very important to keep a clean chit there, right? And these days, you've got the social media, right? It's more than rules, and I won't be reading the audit book of the BCCI, but my Twitter handle will give me things about, say, the president or the ex-president, and say, this is happening and that is happening, right? And it's very difficult to keep, something that is ambiguous or gray, forget about dark, out of the social media. So it's very important, therefore. So essentially what sports authorities have to do is to play it clean. There is no way out. As social media, as openness, as the leaning towards positive ethics, and we've seen that in Me Too and other movements become more prominent, it will be important for sports authorities to understand that their basic survival is based on their ethical governance. That's my answer.
Thank you. You just showed that no question is out of syllabus for you. I'm so glad that it triggered memories of a class all those years ago, and that you were able to share that experience with us. I think we all leave the room and more enriched than you thought we would. Thank you so much, Ashish, for that. Jitin, I come to you. What are some things that can be done to ensure, we are saying industry must embrace sport. I started off saying industry has already embraced sport more than 100 years ago, but perhaps it needs to do a bit more. What are some things that you think can be done to ensure that there is a greater synergy between sport and industry?
I think one great thing about this era is it relies so much on the narrative of stories. So if you have a story of a sports person who's been sponsored through and through from a corporate environment, that sports person goes up the ranks, eventually brings in laurels, that's a great story.
We read about athletes living in difficult conditions, former athlete living in difficult conditions, them writing to the Prime Minister or the Sports Minister and getting 5 lakh rupees for as some kind of a relief. I really believe that our storytelling skills, India needs to improve. We need to start celebrating our achievers. And like Mr. HARTEK Singh said, we must celebrate our failures as well. We need more failures like you to support sport. You failed in sport, but you have shown the way for the rest of us to follow. So thank you very much for what you have done. We need to understand that success doesn't come just like that. You don't show up on a playing field and start winning every time. It's tough, but I believe that if we can all collectively start celebrating Indian sport a little bit more, India's athletes a little bit more. We should not talk about Aditi Ashok when she's doing well at the Olympic Games. A whole country woke up at 5 o'clock to watch Aditi Ashok play 18 holes of golf. We wanted her to desperately to win that medal. But do we follow her as much later? We don't. I think if we can change that narrative, we will have succeeded in bringing industry and sport together. Jitin?
I had one residual point. One more area that I've kind of told my folks in the human resources, if you spot somebody who's got an army background, or who's failed as an entrepreneur, or who's been a sports person at a certain level, just hire that person. Just don't stop on, we'll take an interview, etc. Because they've gone through the rigors, and they've seen it, they've failed, or they've succeeded. So just, to recognize that as a pre-qualification, as good as anything else, is another area to focus on, especially for corporates.
Surely that will help. But I think it's also important for athletes when they're growing up to not just give up their education levels, because at some point of time they're going to need education. I know Mr. Zafar Iqbal, a former India captain, who retired as the general manager of Air India. He was a fantastic career in Air India because he was an engineer. There are many athletes who pick up jobs at 17 years of age or 18 years of age, pick up contracts at 17 or 18, and don't focus on education. I think that is one other area where industry can tell people that educate yourself, ensure that your graduation is at least complete, so it will help you for life. I know Abhinav Bindra, who doesn't live very far away from here, is focused on managing careers of athletes post their active sports careers. It's very important. I think the awareness is coming now. More and more athletes are understanding the need for education. They are also understanding the need to arm themselves with skills that can go beyond their sporting consciousness. It's very important for them, but this has been a very engaging session.
I just got inspired, sorry. I was just thinking about the question you gave to HARTEK Singh ji. So I think as, relatively smaller enterprises, we can't probably sponsor the cricket team or a cricketer, but smaller games. For example, one of Shulini's students, we sponsored him. He's the India captain for a game called Korfball. And another of our sponsored individuals is now going on a 6-mountain climb. Guy called Amit Negi, he's going to all the top 6, this thing, right? So the answer probably for smaller entities like us is to pick up some of the other games which are not so popular and directly support them, right? Absolutely. And I was just thinking of your point, what happens to athletes who don't study because they need graduation. So I, from Shulini's side, would offer 0 tuition fees for an online education, BBA or MBA, to any state level or national level athlete.
Thank you very much. I think it is magnanimous for somebody to offer this kind of support to athletes. It doesn't help them immediately, but it's going to help them in the long run. So thank you very much for what you've just said, Ashish. There will be questions. This has been a very engaging session, and Vivek, 45 minutes is too less. We need a whole day for this. Okay, so next Playwrite is only focused on sport and industry. I'm joking. No, everybody will come because we'll make it engaging for them. Did any of you get bored here today, now? Dekho? Ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. Please don't judge me because I definitely don't look like a very sports-oriented athletic person. But yes, I am into cross fitness of the throat. So, dawn da kam jehda hai, gale da kam hai, te gale di cross fitness zaruri hai. So, my question is actually a rhetorical question. When I moved to the US in 2003, I understood the culture of sports in that country. That over there, it was a done deal that when there were NBA matches, that everyone would run on the weekend, stock up their fridges, get together with family and watch the game. So there is an entire paradigm shift created, and it is created very strategically, that the entire country is investing time, in investing a lot of energy, in investing in a lot of sportswear and associated cuisine and all of that. and also giving direction to a whole race of people. I believe that that was a very, very huge strategy that was created in the US. And as a cultural conservationist, I feel that when we have educators like Mr. KHOSLA, when we have people, supporting the legal system like JITIN, when we have Virji, HARTEK supporting fresh budding talent, the society needs to understand all these things at a much bigger level. And we all need to chip in our own way that we can. So it's not really a question, it's just a assertion of what you all are already saying. And kudos to all of you. And God bless you. And I hope that we'll have more and more women in this field. And when Jitin was saying that we have only 35 to 40% women and not 50% women, I hope there comes a time that you'll have more than the 50% and you'll be sitting worrying, oh God, ye to kitne sare ladies have come forward. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It's a beautiful point that you make about culture. And I go back to 92 when I moved to Delhi from Hyderabad. My friend Mr. Vijay Lokpalli, who's here, told me this. He said, whatever you do in Delhi, you must go and watch this match between St. Stephen's College and Hindu College. It is like the Eton and Harrow contest. It's like the Oxford and Cambridge contest. The cricket final between Hindu College and St. Stephen's is a must for you. He said 10,000 people turn up to watch the inter-college final. Today you don't have 10,000 people watching Ranji Trophy over a whole season. Our tastes have changed thanks to cable and satellite television. Muhammad Ali and Bruce Lee are passé. It is all about Ronaldo and Messi. It's all about Kobe Bryant. It's all about wonderful athletes like Nadal, like Federer, because they are the ones we are seeing on our television. We would like to see TAVLEEN sing on our television set. We would like to see our Abhinav Bindras and Tejashwin Shankars on our television sets. Until that happens, until we start asking our newspapers to cover more local sport by writing to the editors. Because you can see, you look at any newspaper, they will have half a page of European football. And we are letting our young people grow up on that. And that is the reason why our industry is also a little slack in terms of supporting sport. Look at the number of sponsors who are flocking European football, Indian sponsors who are flocking European football. Our shift is gone towards Europe. We are investing, we have become the kings of the world. They want our money. They come to us and say, buy a scarf for $5 or €5. Buy a Manchester United mug for €10. And that money is going into supporting Manchester United. I think it's time that we wake up and start asking our newspapers, asking our television channels to show us a little bit more of Indian sport. I think on that note, I will compliment the panel for bringing the best out of each one of you. You have offered unhesitatingly thoughts that would contribute to the discussion. Like I told Vivek, this is not going to end here. This is probably a start of a conversation that will continue for a long time. So thank you very much for this wonderful session.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I intend to let you ask a question, but you put your hand up yourself. Please go ahead.
We play full time. It's not a part-time thing. We play also, we work on the digital thing also because that's also the necessity of the generation. But can you tell me how to reach you guys? How is it accessible? It's very difficult, to be honest. I've mailed a lot of companies for sponsors. I don't have any sponsors till now. And it's been almost 5-6 years of me just looking out for sponsors. So can you tell me how to catch hold of you all?
Another out of syllabus question.
Sorry, what's your name?
My name is Michelle, sir.
Michelle.
So Michelle, I don't have an answer. I'll tell you how Amit Negi connected to us. Amit Negi one day said, can you send me a flag of Shulini University? So somebody gave him a flag of Shuli University. Then when he climbed over Kanchenjunga, I'm sure he did with 3 or 4 people.
Okay, sir.
But he put the Shuli University flag on Kanchenjunga, right? So then he came back. And then we said, why don't you come to the university, right? Slowly we built a relationship with him. So I mean, just one example. Again, it's a out of syllabus question. I don't have the answer to it. But that's just one example I can give you. Yeah?
But in general, I don't think it's tough to reach out to corporate, executives, because everybody's on LinkedIn. You've got to be very responsive to it. Everybody's got to have social profiles these days. So reaching out to, I've reached out to folks. That's a question of, I mean, that's a question of, a lot of that is question of priorities of that other person, as well as, that was a trick question probably.
But Michelle, you got an answer from here that you increase your social media profile, get people to talk about you, get people interested in you. Recently, I was speaking to a race car driver from Jammu Kashmir. She was the first woman from Jammu Kashmir to win a national racing championship podium. She got to the podium, and she was looking at methods in which to get to NDTV or to CNN, Network 18. So the idea is to create a good buzz about yourself on social media and get the mainstream media interested in you. I think that is what is the best way forward. And once you speak there on media, you might have 1 or 2 sponsors watching it and perhaps responding to you. Like you said, writing on LinkedIn, they don't probably come back to you. It was tough. Reena is here. When she went on her expedition to the South Pole, she was reaching out to multiple people. I think there's only one Indian sponsor who put up some money for her. She needed a lot more, but at least there was some money coming in from one charitable institution, I might say that. So great question to which there is no real answer. So thank you so much.
But one thing is, don't just think of yourself as think of it as you're creating around yourself, you're also creating a brand around you. And once you have that presence, you will see people come to you rather than you have to reach out to people.
Thank you very much. You have been a marvelous audience, so you deserve a round of applause for yourself. Thank you so much. Thank you. I think you'll have to wait and...
Vivek sir just whispered in my ear that Playwright's the answer to your question. All right, so thank you so much for such an engaging session. I would like to invite Mr. Vivek Atre, Dr. H.K. Bali and Colonel D.S. Chima to present mementos to our speakers.
Alright, so we pause for a picture. Okay, let me go.